Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday International Big Book Workshop. I'm Dan B. I'm a recovered alcoholic. It's great to see you all here. This workshop is facilitated by Kemble H. This study relies on you listening, but please, we pray that you have your big book in hand and follow along with a pen, pencil, or highlighter. Make any notes and pause if you have to. Also, write down any questions. We will take them at the end of the meeting. We will keep everybody muted during the workshop except for the facilitators. Any inappropriate would not be tolerated and you will be removed by one of the co-hosts. This meeting is being recorded, the audio portion only, and only of the facilitators. The recording will be shut down at the end of the meeting to preserve your anonymity. So everybody have a great meeting. Thank you. Over to you,
Okay.
Campbell.
Yeah, it got muted and I couldn't
Here's to
hear
a great
you.
meeting.
Yeah. Hey, good afternoon, peeps, and happy Sunday to everybody. And welcome to the Sunday International Keystone Big Book Workshop, facilitated by me. So I hope you got your pen, your big book, paper. My name is Kimball. I'm a recovered alcoholic. All right. And it's so great to be here being a recovered alcoholic, people. We finna share a story here about a man named Roland Hazard today, right? He was a hopeless and helpless alcoholic, the type that I was, the same type Bill Wilson was. Because we alcoholics, we come into a hopeless state of mind and body. We can't stop our own selves from drinking. I tried for over 3 decades. I tried to stop myself from drinking, but I didn't have the power to stop myself from drinking. But anyway, here in this meeting, we go through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And as we know, the program is found in the first portion of this big book, Alcoholics Anonymous. It's found nowhere else, not in the 12 and 12, not in SBLCs or Daily Reflections or none of that. The program is outlined in this book because here this book gives us the problem, it gives us the solution, and it gives us the course of action that we take. Once taking the 12 steps, we should acquire a personality change sufficient enough for us to recover from alcoholism. They give us their experience in this book. The people that put this book together, more than 100 men and women who have recovered from alcoholism, we glean on their ideas and we can relate their ideas to what we went through in our drinking careers. And we can incorporate it because they already laid out a plan of action, and it's been successful for millions of alcoholics today. There are millions who have recovered today from alcoholism as a result of the 12 steps. I know it saved my life, gave me a brand new way of living, because I was doomed. I was doomed to an alcoholic death. And then I got to the point, I spent many times in treatment centers and detox centers, jails, hospitals, prisons. You know, nothing helped. Psychiatrists, doctors, and laying flat on my back. Nothing human could solve my alcoholic problem. But thank God for this program, because it shows us precisely how these people recovered who wrote the book. And the main purpose of this book is to enable us to find a power that's greater than ourselves, which will solve our problem. Notice it will solve our problem. Not halfway, not 3/4 away, but it will solve your problem. That's what my personal experience from following the precise directions laid out in this program of recovery. We all can acquire that today. So, Brother Dan, I want you to start off here on page 26. We're in There's a Solution. And I hope to finish There's a Solution up today, because I want to get into one of my favorite parts of the book next week, dealing with more about alcoholism, where we'll get started on the second symptom of alcoholism, the malady of the mind. As you know, the problem of the alcoholic is centered in the mind rather than the body. We already see. Now, at this point in the book, we see that what we suffer from. The first symptom of being a real alcoholic, is that we develop this allergy to the body, better known as a phenomenon of craving. A phenomenon is an unexplainable event. We alcoholics take a drink, and then we take another one, and then the more we drink, the more our bodies demand, and we get thirsty as we drink, and we can't stop. We can't stop no matter how hard we try. So Anyway, Brother Dan, on page 26, where it says a certain American businessman,
Yeah.
you can read down to that was a great physician's opinion, almost at the bottom of the paragraph, and we'll get started right there.
Oh, juicy one.
All right.
First full paragraph on page 26, everybody. A certain American businessman had ability, good sense, and high character. For years, he had floundered from one sanitarium to another. He had consulted the best-known American psychiatrists. Then he had gone to Europe, placing himself in the care of a celebrated physician, the psychiatrist Dr. Young, who prescribed for him, though experience had made him skeptical. He finished his treatment with unusual confidence. His physical and mental condition were unusually good. Above all, he believed he had acquired such a profound knowledge of the inner workings of his mind and its hidden springs that relapse was unthinkable. Nevertheless, he was drunk in a short time. More baffling still, he could give himself no satisfactory explanation for his fall. So he returned to this doctor, whom he admired, and asked him point blank why he could not recover. He wished above all things to regain self-control. He seemed quite rational and well-balanced with respect to other problems, yet he had no control whatever over alcohol. Why was this? He begged the doctor to tell him the whole truth, and he got it. In the doctor's judgment, he was utterly hopeless. He could never regain his position in society, and he would have to place himself under lock and key or hire a bodyguard if he expected to live long. That was a great physician's opinion.
Okay, thank you, Brother Dan. No doubt about it. And welcome, Brother Pete. I think I see you there. A certain American businessman. Now, this businessman, his name is Roland Hazard. It don't mention the name in the book, but it is his story that we are relating to here today. He had good ability, good sense, and a high character. No doubt, we alcoholics, we all have this same sense of well-being. We can be successful in everything in life except when it comes to alcoholism. Roland Hazard is described as a real alcoholic. As our big book describes the real alcoholic on page 21, we simply cannot stop. Without aid, without help, it is too much for us. So here's the idea that Roland Hazard found. Share a little bit about Roland Hazard. He was a sober alcoholic. He brought the spiritual message to the Oxford group, from the Oxford group to Ebby Thatcher. Ebby is the one that came to bring the message to Bill Wilson, our co-founder, and it was then based much of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous on the Oxford group principles. The rest is history. Millions today have recovered from alcoholism by the 12 steps that Bill incorporated from starting what he learned when Ebby Thatcher came to see Bill in his kitchen to bring him a message of recovery. Ebby was only 2 months sober when he came to see Bill, and what happened with Ebby? Ebby had been getting in trouble, right? So he went to court, and the judge was ready to lock him up and throw away the key, but then Roland Hazard and another member from the Oxford group came to the court, so they released Ebby into their care. Notice the Oxford group was a religious group, right? But it's based on spiritual principles. That's the key word here, spiritual principles. As our book says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Well, the path that they are talking about on page 58 is the path of spiritual tools that's laid at our feet throughout this program of recovery from alcoholism. So he met with a Dr. Young. That's our good old psychiatrist that we all hear about. Dr. Young treated Roland for his drinking problem. That much is clear from Dr. Young's correspondence with Bill Wilson. It's published in the book, AA's book, Pass It On. But there are at least 2 different conclusions concerning precisely when, to what extent, and to what intervals the treatment took place. I won't go into them different conclusions, but it's two of them. But anyway, back to the paragraph. From Dr. Young was from Switzerland, first of all. So the Rowlands family was they had a lot of money. They was rich, so he could have all the best psychiatrists in the United States, and one of the top ones had turned him down. So there he sought help from Dr. Carl Jung. So, and he prescribed medicines for him. So let's get that part in. So, though his experience had made him skeptical, he finished his treatment with unusual confidence. What we can call, I'm confident. I got this thing now. Above all, he believed he had acquired such a profound knowledge of the inner workings of his mind and his hidden springs that relapse was unthinkable. So, if we alcoholics could think like that, I know I do. I used to do it in my career. Shoot, I can't relapse. Shoot, I got self-knowledge, and that's how Rowland Hazard was. He believed self-knowledge would keep him sober, but he had access to the best psychological minds in the world. He had acquired a profound understanding of his condition, but yet he still relapsed. That's the problem. Step one, we're powerless over alcohol, and if we powerless over something, mean we don't have the power to stop ourselves, and we become hopeless and helpless. I had this experience in my years for over 30-something years. I actually drank for 42 years, but I know for a fact that over 30 plus of those years, I was a real alcoholic. And I can see from what I've experienced from going through the steps in this book, I had the same problem. I was the same way. But then, you thinking relapse was unthinkable, right? Remember, the problem of the alcoholic is centers in his mind rather than his body. I used to tell myself every day, I'm not going to drink today. And 30 minutes later, I got a bottle in here, in my mouth, pointed down my throat. The phenomenon of craving kicks in, and I'm drunk again because I couldn't shut it off when it started. But the mind said, the mind tells us, okay, it's okay to drink. Shoot, I ain't going to relapse. So I'm okay. I can take one. But then the paragraph brings out, nevertheless, he was drunk in a short time. Sound familiar, people? More baffling, he could give himself no satisfactory explanation for his fall. So he got drunk in a short time. It's talking about the physical allergy that's in our body. More baffling still. And then we there the next minute, we said we're not going to drink. The mind tells us to drink, and then next thing you know, we drunk, and we beating our heads on the table. How did it happen this time? Well, that's the baffling feature of alcoholism, the utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the wish or the necessity may be. So he returned to his doctor, whom he admired, and asked him point blank why he could not recover. He wished above all things to regain self-control, right? But once we get this physical allergy in our body, we lose all control. We lose the power of choice, whether we're going to drink or not, because of the condition of the mind. And we lose all control over the amounts we take because of this physical allergy. I used to get so thirsty when I drank that I wanted more and more, and it was taking larger amounts. And I'm sure we all probably experienced that. That's the physical allergy. I never could quench this thirst. I mean, I could drink huge amounts and never could get enough. Unless I pass out, end up in the back of an ambulance, or end up in jail or prison or jail or somewhere I ain't want to be. Bottom line. So he seemed quite rational and well balanced with respect to other problems. Yet he had no control whatever over alcohol. Then the big books asked the question, why was this? Well, he begged the doctor to tell him the whole truth, and he got it. In the doctor's judgment, he was utterly hopeless. So Dr. Young saw that Rowland Hazard was utterly hopeless. No chance for recovery. See, the medical treatment he was giving Rowland, it didn't solve his alcohol problem. None of that solved his alcohol problem. So he could never regain his position in society, and he would have to place himself under lock and key or hire a bodyguard if he expected to live long. That was the great physician's opinion. Imagine Dr. Young sitting there working with Rowland Hazard. I done tried this on him, I done tried that on him. but it's not helping his alcoholism because he keeps on drinking. But that's an opinion, as we say. Now we get a great opinion from the doctor, Dr. Silkworth, and he explained to us the grave nature of alcoholism. We have this symptom. That first symptom, this is step one. This is what we're still in step one today. Step one goes on to page 43. So, and we'll be on that step one. Next week, we start on the second symptom of alcoholism, which is the malady in the mind. But then it goes on to relate the bottom paragraph here on page 26. It says, but this man still lives and is a free man. Roland Hazard did recover and he could live as a free man. But check this out. Later on, he started back drinking again. You know, because if an alcoholic failed to enhance his spiritual life, we could be doomed to drink again. We can become unrecovered. These principles that we practice, step 11, has to be practiced for the rest of our lives. We work in step 11 or practicing step 11 every day means we're doing the previous 10 and then plus 12. That's what keeps an alcoholic of our type sober, no doubt. So he can go anywhere on this earth where other from men may go. Let me flip my page. Without disaster, provided he remains willing to maintain a certain simple attitude. Now, this certain simple attitude, by working the 12, taking the 12 steps, Roland, he developed a certain simple attitude of humility that allowed him to go anywhere without fear of relapse. This is a benefit that this program does for us. See, today, I can go anywhere in the world where alcohol is served. I can go to any neighborhood, any situation without the fear of relapsing. You know, it's a benefit being when you recover from something, when the problem being removed, you don't have to worry about it. See, once we take the 12 steps, when the alcoholic problem is removed, we don't have to worry about things no more. We take it in the spiritual way of living. And spiritual way of living is far more powerful than our own thoughts. So we get these ideas rooted in this big book that helps us. So then top of page 27, it goes on to relate some of our alcoholic readers may think they can do without spiritual help. I thought the same thing. I really did. I don't need no spiritual help. See, I can stop when I get ready. Lord knows I couldn't, boy. I tried it and I tried it and I failed utterly every time. No doubt. So let me tell you the rest of the conversation our friend had with his doctor. The doctor said, you have the mind of a chronic alcoholic. Chronic alcoholic, real alcoholic, and a true alcoholic. These are all the same. These are ones that we have passed beyond human aid at this point. And I have never seen one case recover where that state of mind existed to the extent that it does in you. Our friend felt as though the gates of hell had closed on him with a clang. Boom, no doubt. This is how we feel after the step one experience, right? The gates of hell are closed in on us. The doctor is telling him, you got the mind of a chronic alcoholic. I've never seen nobody recover that has the mind like you have. I had that experience in my life as well. It brings me to page 23. It really does. It said, page 23, here, next to the last full paragraph, it says, once in a while, he may tell the truth. See, we alcoholics, we can be some liars, right? We can make excuses for every reason in the world to drink. And no, I did. When it comes to me telling the truth when I'm drinking, when they ask me how much I drank, how much I be done drunk, oh, I ain't having one beer, maybe 2 beers and be done drunk 2/5. I'm not going to tell the truth under the influence of alcoholism. I'm going to lie to you to get money. I'm going to lie to you and try to manipulate you to the best of my ability. And that's just the truth. And then here the paragraph brings on. And the truth, strange to say, is usually that he has no more idea why he took the first drink than you have. Don't have no idea. Already knowing at this point, if we take a drink, his life's going to be a disaster because we ain't going to be able to control the amounts we take. And we show once that phenomenon of craving kick in, we don't have the mental capacity to shed it off. So we keep on drinking to oblivion. And here's the part about some drinkers have excuses in which they are satisfied part of the time. I used to come up with so many beautiful excuses, boy, it would just make you just flip and just, man, shoot. But here's the key point. But in their hearts, they really don't know why they do it. They have no idea. Why did I take that drink? Why am I here drunk again? Why blacked out or something the day before or the night before and don't even remember what happened? And then you wake up with a pound of headache. Well, why did I do it last night? I don't have no idea why I took a drink. I remember taking the first 2 or 3 drinks, and after that, I don't remember much more, right? We've been on drank so much afterwards that we don't realize. Now, here's a hint on the second symptom of being an alcoholic. Talks about the malady. Once this malady has a real hold, they are a baffled lot. Yeah, when that malady, see, the problem of the alcoholic is centers in the mind rather than in the body. There is the obsession that somehow, someday they will beat the game. But in their hearts, they often suspect they are down for the count, right? An alcoholic of our type. We always find trying to think of ways to beat the game. I can beat this stuff. I can beat this alcoholism. But the truth is, alcoholism is above our pay grade at this point. So when we cross that invisible line, it ain't no beating the game. We think we can beat the game and try to stop drinking on our own power. It don't work for a real alcoholic. Now, if you're a moderate drinker or a heavy drinker, sure, you can stop. You can moderate. The real alcoholic can't. Now, he may go through periods of dry drunkenness because he's not working a program, right? Not living a program. So we might can stay sober for days, weeks, maybe even months. But eventually, without the solution, we are going to drink again. This is the promise of step 1. Relapse. Step 1. We're powerless. We're helpless. We're hopeless. I had the same experience. Then they often suspect they are down for the count. You know, I can remember so many rides on the back of that ambulance and waking up in a detox center or waking up on a psych ward or whatever due to my alcoholism. I never went to jail sober in my life. And then I blame the police for taking me to jail when I been raised saying at them, I been got a DUI or PI or whatever. I been assaulted somebody because I had a lot of assault charges in my past due to alcoholism. In other words, I wouldn't act like that if I wasn't drunk. I never went to jail once sober in my life. If there was a period in my life from 2007 to 2012, I was in and out of jail quite a lot of those years. Even had a prison stint in between. But they sent me to a treatment center in there, only to get out right before Christmas one time, and I was drunk before I made it home. Just left a treatment center in prison because they did not give me the solution. No, we can't treat alcoholism, but we got a treatment for it, and it's bound in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. All this other crap they was feeding me, it didn't work for me. Only till somebody 12-stepped me through this program of Alcoholics Anonymous in this book, I since recovered from alcoholism, and thank God for that. So then, here we go. Here's Roland Hazard here on page 27. Let me scroll back to page 27 here. And the doctor says, and Roland Hazard, he said to the doctor, "Is there no exception?" "Yes," replied the doctor, "there is. Exceptions to cases such as yours have been occurring since early times. Here and there, once in a while, alcoholics have had what we call vital spiritual experiences." Well, Pete, that's a solution for a real alcoholic of our type. A spiritual experience, a spiritual awakening, however you want to pronounce it. It talks about that on page 5, 6, or 7 in the appendix in the back of the book. That's the solution for all of us. So the doctor says to me, these occurrences are phenomenal, unexplainable, right? I can sit here today and think the dilemma I went through for 42 years when it came to alcoholism. I was successful in a lot of other areas of my life until it came to alcohol. Alcohol put me flat on my back every time when I'm trying to beat the game on my own. So it's an unexplainable event. So the doctor goes on to relate. They appear to be in the nature of huge emotional displacements and rearrangements. Now, ideas, emotions, and attitudes, which were once the guiding forces of our lives. See, the doctor sees this. He's seen Roland's idea that self-knowledge will fix him and all this good stuff. He thought medication would fix him. I had the same experience. Medication, I had millions, thousands of medications, hundreds of medications that the VA was putting me on to try to help solve my alcohol problem, and none of them ever worked. Boom, none of them. So that was the guiding force of my life, was another drink. But my idea was drinking, bottom line. And then it says, the guiding, the things that were once the forces of the lives of these men are suddenly cast to one side. But here's the key point, and a completely new set of conceptions and motives begin to dominate them. This is what we talk about, this psychic change that the doctor started talking about back in the doctor's opinion. And that goes along with the spiritual experience, spiritual awakening. You can call it psychic change. There are many different avenues of approach for this, but that is what's required for a real alcoholic of our type. So the doctor goes on to tell Roland Harris, and in fact, I have been trying to produce some such emotional rearrangement within you. With many individuals, the methods which I employed are successful, but I have never been successful with an alcoholic of your description. So here's the key point. The only exception was when a chronic alcoholic we had these vital spiritual experience. It completely rearranges our thinking, our ideas, our attitudes, our emotions. We got a whole new a way of living, a whole new way we look at life. So we used to look at life in one way, the alcoholic way, another drink, and then we take that drink, then we can't stop. But look, we had this vital spiritual experience, and I got an asterisk right here on page 27, so I want to hit a couple of points and highlights about this psychic change. So we're going to roll over to the appendix 2 on page 557, 567. So let me go through a couple of those real quick. And this is the result of taking the 12 steps, where it says spiritual experience in appendix 2 in the back of the book. It says the terms spiritual experience and spiritual awakening are used many times in this book, which upon careful reading shows that the personality change or spiritual experience is a personality change. It's a whole new change, right? Whole new ideas and emotions. They done changed from what they used to be. Shows that the personality change sufficient to bring about recovery from alcoholism has manifested itself among us in many different forms. Now, some of these other things, I think I talked about this a little bit last week, or might have been the week before. So we talked about personality changes. It's got religious experience, then the nature of sudden and spectacular upheavals. These are different changes that we experience, known as a psychic change, a spiritual experience. So, God consciousness. It talks about God consciousness here in the third paragraph. It says, that in order to back up, God consciousness followed at once by a vast change in feeling and outlook. There's that word change again. Psychic change, spiritual experience, that changes the alcoholic mind. See, the problem with us is the alcoholic is centers in our mind. And then it goes on to relate at the bottom paragraph, What often takes place in a few months could seldom have been accomplished by years of self-discipline. Self-discipline could not solve my alcoholic problem, and it did not. I could try to be disciplined, but then I become undisciplined as soon as I put that first drink in my mouth. So a few exceptions our members have tapped and unsuspect the inner resource which they presently identify with their own conception of a power greater than themselves. Most of us think this awareness of a power greater than ourselves is the essence of spiritual experience. Our more religious members call it God consciousness. So true. That's the change. So the dilemma that we are facing, well, lack of power, that is our dilemma. Here, and we have a dilemma of faith as well, because if we don't have faith in a power greater than ourselves and we keep faith in ourselves, maybe we're going to drink again, right? Step one. Yes. Well, I had to call myself having all the faith in the world, right? But the only faith I had was another drink was going to make me feel better. When I felt good, I drank. When I felt bad, I drank. No matter what my attitude was, alcohol was simply our solution. And then the problems piled up on us. Instead of it being the solution, it became the problem, and it created more problems, right? Don't have no way to stop. No way to stop. So back to page 27. Bottom paragraph. Upon hearing this, our friend was somewhat relieved, for he reflected that after all, he was a good church member. This hope, however, was destroyed by the doctor telling him that while his religious convictions were very good, in his case, they did not spare the necessary vital spiritual experience. Our religious convictions, for anybody that may have been religious or whatever, they were not enough to solve our alcoholic problem. I have this experience in my life where I was preaching in a religion for 13 years, and I was drinking every day. My religious convictions was never enough. Somebody told me one time, what you doing? You need more help, because the religious convictions you have, it won't solve your problem. And I could see it, but they seen it before I did. So you suggested I go to AA. Well, I've been knowing about AA for years. I had been in and out of AA for over 3 decades, but I was never 12-step. I was just in a fellowship, but I wasn't going through the program. And the program is what solved our alcoholic problem. You can fellowship all you want. Fellowship is good. It can be good, but the message I got for many years was, oh, just don't drink today. 90 meetings in 90 days. Do this, do that. Don't go to this place. Don't go to that place. All this old hogwash crap. Man, it's not giving me a solution. I told one of my counselors one time, he said, well, Kim, if you don't drink, then you can't get drunk. Well, darn, I'm sitting here a real alcoholic. I'm suffering. I'm struggling. So he told me, I said, let me out this car right now. And I went to the liquor store and I got me a drink just to prove to him, because I was sick, hopeless, helpless. The alcoholic mind is a chronic alcoholic mind, such as Roland Hazard had. We gonna drink, period. Step one, the utter inability to leave it alone. Only way we can get through it for a real alcoholic of our type, the 12 steps. And then we had this experience. We gain this experience from the ideas that they present in this big book to us. These ideas work. It really does. Because I'm telling you the truth, I never thought in the world I could live life sober. I used to had a fear all the years. I think that's why I couldn't stop myself from drinking. Well, that's why I think I could drink for so long, for 40 years. Because I was scared how I could live life without me being drunk everywhere I went. So I had a fear of that crap, right? What did it feel? If I'm sober for a year or 2 years, I probably wouldn't be able to live life right without alcohol. But you know what? This experience through this AA program of recovery solved my alcohol problem, and I'm sober today for 4 years. February 3rd, 2020 is my sobriety date, and I since have recovered from alcoholism. I can go anywhere in the world today. I can be around anybody I want to be around. It's alcohol that stays in my home 7 days a week, because my wife, my daughter, my grandchildren, and children, they drink. They don't stop me. shoot, I'd be glad to see them drink because they not alcoholic. I'm the one that's alcoholic. So what they do don't have no bearing on me. Thanks to God and this program of recovery. I enjoy life. Shoot, I go back for them today. Shoot, like in treatment centers, they said, don't go to this place. If you go down a certain road where you used to get high or drunk at, you need to go around another block. No, I can go straight through your house now. Come out the other side of the house. I can go straight in the liquor store and buy liquor for my family. I go to events. Everywhere I go is alcohol served, right? Boom. The problem has been removed. So don't let people tell you can't go anywhere. Because if you try to shield an alcoholic from temptation, it's going to make them drink, right? They're going to drink again. Big Book talks about that, which we get to that sometime on down the road, but that's just the truth. And Big Book speaks about cunning, baffling, powerful, no doubt. It is. But once we get these 12 steps, we have this vital spiritual experience, we don't get conned by alcohol no more. See, step one, we smash the delusion that we can drink and be like other people. We are the one that smashed that idea. We already know from the information we already got in this book, from the title page up to now, I'm a real alcoholic. I already know I can't take a drink. It'd be foolish, it'd be insane to take a drink. That's why I can't wait to get into the next paragraph when we're talking about how this mind works for a real alcoholic. And Roland Hazard got this mind of a chronic alcoholic, as the doctor just told him. The only hope for the doctor could see was that he'd be locked up somewhere. So, so Roland, the doctor, right? Let me talk about the Dr. Young for a little bit. So at the conclusion of one of Roland's treatments, right, following one of his relapses, Young told Roland that he had done everything he could do for him, clinically. He told Hazard that psychiatry and medicine could do nothing more for him, and that the only hope that he would have would be this vital spiritual experience. I just shared a while ago, right? The VA used to put me on all kind of different medicines, right? Shoot, one time I was on 20-something different pills a day. 4 or 5 of them was related to my drinking. They was giving me medicine to try to stop me from drinking. They was giving me medicine to try to take my mind off of drinking. And none of that stuff ever worked. So I didn't have a solution. Because all the treatment centers I went to, they didn't give me the solution that's offered in this book, The Program of Alcoholics Anonymous. It was a self-help program. See, selfishness and self-centeredness, we alcoholics are rooted in self. Self is our problem. Because I always thought, yeah, it'd be okay. It'd be okay to drink 2. I'm going to stop at 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. That stuff never worked. I tested it out for years, but it never worked. So, wow, quite amazing. The difference this stuff makes in us today. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, page 28, top of page 28. So here was the terrible dilemma in which our friend found himself when he had the extraordinary experience, which, as we have already told you, it made him a free man. That's what makes us free, people, that vital spiritual experience. I didn't see no white light or none of that pop up like Bill Wilson did, or some of the early other members did. It's just people were seeing a change in me quite way before I could see it in myself. I had no idea. I just know one day the desire to drink was gone, right? My life had changed. Something had happened. I wasn't reacting like I was no more. I wasn't reaching for the bottle. Starting to live a spiritual way of life. See, like the doctor told Roland Hazard, your religious convictions is not enough for an alcoholic of your type. All the medicine, the psychiatrists I still see a psychiatrist today, right? Because I have a post-traumatic stress disorder. Come back. I tried to fix my alcoholism and my post-traumatic stress disorder by drinking. Medicine, all that crap didn't work. But what happened? This book, it's going to guide us into a relationship with God. And it solves our problem. The relationship, it's a relationship thing. It's not a religious thing. See, the religious thing was never enough for me. But when it comes to having a relationship, like what I got on my shirt today, I have a personal relationship with this person right here, who is God. It's the God I worship. It's the God that solved my problem. I don't preach my spiritual or my religious beliefs on here, but it's just the power that solved my problem and it saved my life. Thank God. So we in turn, still on page 28, sought the same escape, but all the desperation of drowning men. Well, you know, I hear a lot of meetings, right? People would share this desperation drove me into Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff like that. Well, desperation didn't drive me into Alcoholics Anonymous, but drove me into Alcoholics Anonymous. I could not stop drinking on my own. If I could, I would have never came. Because, you know, I was ordered to AA in 1983 when I was still a soldier in the military. I ain't recovered from alcoholism to 2020. That's a long time to be in and out of the fellowship like that. So sometimes I stay gone for a year, 6 months, and go to meetings, 2 or 3 a day, sometimes 4 or 5 days in a row, trying to do this 90 and 90 crap, right? When I went through the program, I don't see that nowhere in here said you go to 90 meetings in 90 days and your problem will be fixed. No, it took taking some steps, not that hogwash stuff that's not even in this book. And it was killing me. I was dying in and out these rooms. Kept going back to detox centers and psych wards. Utterly crazy. You know, simply crazy. That's ain't no other word for it. Insane. As the song says, insane in the membrane. This one here was insane. Totally insane. And that happens to all of us real alcoholics. It's insane for a real alcoholic to think he can take a drink and then pick a drink up. Oh, it'd be drunk again. It's just the insanity, but the sinner's in our mind. No doubt. So here's what happened when Roland Hazard had the extraordinary experience. He developed a spiritual awakening sufficient enough to recover from alcoholism by working the 12 steps. I had that experience. I'm sure a lot of us in this room has had that experience. Yes, no doubt. Here's, okay, page 28. I was talking about, yeah. We in turn sought the same escape with all the desperation of drowning men. What seemed at first a flimsy reed, you know, a reed is flimsy like this, has proved to be the loving and powerful hand of God. A new life has been given us today. Or if you prefer, a design for living that really works. I love the idea of this design for living. Here on page 28, it talks about a design for living here on page 81 as well. And I'll roll right there and read that for you. Our design for living is not a one-way street. You know, it's good, it's for a wife, it's for a husband, but our design for living today is rooted in a power greater than ourselves, and that's God. Have a working relationship with him, seeing what I need to do his will. I already know his will for me is to present the message of Alcoholics Anonymous here on this format and to bring people to God when I'm outside of this format. I do this every day of my life. I studied my Bible with people. I try to teach them about this Jesus right here. That's the love of my life. He solves all my problems. So back to page 28. The distinguished American psychologist William James, he has a book called Varieties of Religious Experience. So it indicates a multitude of ways in which men have discovered God. In this big book here, but see, he was talking about religious experiences. Well, that's a psychic change too. If you have this change, and then the way that you live has changed completely, a whole new concept, a way of living. You know, anyway, in the stories, in the back of the book, right, it shows us these people share their stories, and it's going to tell us how they found a relationship with God. You know, they say God of our own understanding or whatever in the big book, no problem. But anyway, the God word is very important. Some people do not like that word, but I can't help it. He's the one that solved my problem. I'm not going to never apologize for talking about God, but I talk about him 24/7. I don't push it down my family's throat or other people, but I simply just relay a message. Sometimes a short sentence. They seen this change in me 4 years ago before I ever seen it. So they was the closest one. And then other people were seeing this change. You know, here's the key here on 28. We have no desire to convince anyone that there is only one way by which faith can be acquired. If what we have learned and felt and seen means anything at all, it means that all of us, whatever our race, creed, or color, are the children of a living creator. Notice they got the creator capitalized, so this is where they're talking about a living God with whom we may form a relationship. Key word, relationship, not religion, but relationship upon simple and understandable terms. As soon as we were willing and honest enough to try, willingness, honesty, open-mindedness, they are the essentials of recovery. So those having religious affiliations will find here nothing disturbing to their beliefs or ceremonies. There is no friction among us over such matters. We think it no concerns of ours what religious bodies our members identify themselves with as individuals. This should be an entirely personal affair which each one decides for himself in the light of past associations or his present choice. Not all of us join religious bodies, but most of us favor such memberships. See, we don't have no monopoly. The 12 steps are all inclusive. It works for everybody, whether you're religious, atheist, agnostic, or just don't even, or whether you just out in the world somewhere. It works for all of us, all inclusive. Anyone can use the 12 steps successfully, regardless of any status that we may have in life. So we are to decide for ourselves what spiritual path to follow. No one in AA has the right to criticize your choice. And you know, and I see this on our Recovered Alcoholic page. A lot of times we may post something about Jesus, God, whatever. People like to criticize us. Oh, you religious. This is a Facebook group that we on, but this is an AA meeting that I'm on now, right? But this is what the book is telling us. No one has the right to criticize our choice of the power that we choose to believe in. I'm not going to criticize this man over here, right? If he think that doorknob is greater than himself, that's his conclusion. It's just not mine. And I'm not going to tell him no different. As long as it keep him sober, he got a living and working relationship. That's his choice. I don't criticize people. No, I don't want to criticize no one. I just stand and try to be helpful. The thing about it is relationship with God. That is the key thing. That's the blessing of this big book. So in the following chapter, we get to my favorite part. There appears an explanation of alcoholism as we understand it. Then talking about the first 100 men and women that put this thing together. All of them came with this understanding about alcoholism. They all had the experience. Now they got it published in a book to give us something to follow. Thank God. Then a chapter addressed to the agnostic. Now that's really one of my favorites. I guess the whole book my favorite page. So I can't say the agnostic is my favorite or more about alcoholism. The whole book is my favorite. I'm just gonna tell you. It said, many who were once in this class are now among our members. No doubt. The class that we're talking about when it deals with alcoholism is physical allergy. See, we are a distinct class when we develop this physical allergy. We are not like the normal drinker. We are not like the heavy drinker. No, the allergy sets us apart. Boom. So surprisingly enough, we find such convictions no great obstacle to a spiritual experience. Yes, amen. Key to alcoholism. Further on, clear-cut directions are given showing how we recover. Oh, I'm recovering. I got 30 years sober and I'm recovering. Well, have you taken the 12 steps? You got 30 years sober, you still recovering, you will never recover. Well, the first promise and hope of this book, we recover from this thing, right? I ain't suffer from alcoholism. I suffer from humanism, but it's grounded in a power greater than myself. And boom, problem solved. The big book tells us the problem has been removed. So if alcohol isn't removed, why are you still suffering? You still drinking or what? That's the only conclusion I can get, you know? So further on, talking about these clear-cut directions, showing how we recover. Now, these are followed by 43 personal experiences. So each individual in the personal stories describes in his own language and from his own point of view the way he has established his relationship with God. So true, right? We got these stories in the back of this book. Each person has a different experience with God. My experience with God ain't the same as the next person. No. And we don't fight about it. We don't argue about it. So these give a fair cross-section of our membership and a clear-cut idea of what has actually happened in their lives. Yes. No doubt. Last paragraph, and then we'll set it off. We hope no one will consider these self-revealing accounts in bad taste. Our hope, here's the hope here, is that many alcoholic men and women desperately in need will see these pages, and we believe that it is only by fully disclosing ourselves and our problems that they will be persuaded to say, yes, I am one of them too. I must have this thing. Yes, amen. I had to have this thing. I don't know about y'all. If I didn't have this thing right here, my butt probably be dead somewhere. I'd still be drinking somewhere. Hollering about, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I need some help. So thank God, God helps me today. Of course, the people that 12-stepped me through this thing, they was a blessing. God sent them people to me. So when it comes to talking about, I must have this thing, I got one more thing to share, and it's back in the preface, talking about this book. It goes on to say, because this book has become the basic text for our society and has helped such large numbers of alcoholic men and women to recovery, there is a strong sentiment against any radical changes being made in it. Therefore, the first portion of this volume, describing the AA recovery program, has been left largely untouched in the course of revisions made for the second, third, and fourth editions. See, this book is the only book we need, y'all. Because here, one more thing. Y'all know I get so crunk up. On the forward to the first edition, it says, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. For them, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication will be necessary. They're going to show us exactly how to do this thing. Here we learn the problem, the solution, and the course of action. Wow. Step 2 is the idea. This still part of step 1, right? But step 2 is the idea. And it's confirmed by taking the rest of the steps, and then we confirm in step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. We try to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Thank God for today. Thank God for everybody being here. And I'm going to shut it off right there. Next week, we start on more about alcoholism. So much information in there. Okay, Brother Dan. Thank you, brother.
No worries.